Pick up that jug of laundry detergent sitting next to your washing machine. Turn it over in your hands and think about what you paid for it. $20? $25 for the big one? Now let me tell you something about what is actually inside it. Something the company that sold it to you would rather you never stopped to think about. Most of what you carried home from that store, most of the weight in that heavy plastic jug you lifted into the cart, is water. Plain water, dyed a rich blue with a little soap stirred in and a strong perfume on top. You paid to have water shipped across the whole country in a plastic bottle. Then you paid a second time for the bottle itself, and you will pay a third time next month when it runs dry and you go back and lift another one. My name is Elias Yoder. I am Amish. I farm here in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and in the whole history of this house, we have never once bought a jug of that blue water. My wife makes our wash soap out of 3 plain things you can buy at any grocery store for about $6, and one batch lasts our family the better part of a year. It washes the clothes of 9 people. The work clothes, the barn clothes, the bed sheets, the children's everything, sun up to sundown, and it costs pennies a load. Today I'm going to give you the exact recipe. I'm going to show you how to make a whole bucket of it in about 20 minutes of real work. And then I'm going to tell you honestly what it does well and what it does not. Because there are folks on the internet who will swear this homemade soap beats every detergent on the shelf at everything under the sun, and that simply is not true. I will not tell you one thing that is not true, and I am going to tell you the single trick that makes this work right in hard water, which is the part most folks are never told, and it is the very reason some people try this once and give up on it. Stay for that part especially. Stay with me. Let me start with what is really in that jug, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. A bottle of liquid laundry detergent is mostly water. I am not stretching that to make a point. The actual soap, the part that does the cleaning, is a small share of what is in there. The rest is water to carry it, dye to make it look thick and blue or green so it seems like it must be strong, and fragrance, a heavy manufactured smell. And here is the clever part, the part that took me a good while to understand. That smell is doing a job, but the job is not cleaning. The job is to make your nose believe the clothes are clean. Think about it honestly for a minute. When you pull the wash out of the machine and it smells like a mountain breeze or a spring meadow or whatever pretty name they have printed on the front, your mind says one word: clean. But you did not measure a thing. You did not test a thing. You smell the perfume, and your mind, trained over years and years of every single wash smelling that same way, hears that smell and answers, clean. But the smell is not proof of clean. The smell is a habit they built into you. And it is the single most expensive thing in that bottle. Manufactured fragrance is not cheap to make, and you are paying for it every wash you run, paying good money to perfume a load of water. Now, getting clothes truly clean is not a complicated thing, and it needs none of that. It needs 3 jobs done. You need something to break the grip of grease and oil so it can lift off the cloth. That is, the soap itself. You need something to handle the minerals in your water so the soap can actually get to work. That is a water softener. And you need something alkaline to help pull the dirt and the oils up out of the fibers. A couple of common minerals do that job. 3 things. Every one of them sits on the low shelf at the store, cheap, with no jingle and no bright bottle. And they have been cleaning clothes since long before there was ever a plastic jug to pour anything into. So here are the 3 things you need. Get a pencil and write them down. The first is washing soda. Now hear me carefully. Washing soda, not baking soda. They are cousins, but they are not the same thing, and folks mix them up all the time. Washing soda is sodium carbonate. The common box of it, the yellow one, sits on the laundry aisle for about $4 or $5, and one box lasts a long, long time. This is the workhorse of the whole recipe. When it hits the water, it turns the water alkaline, and that is what loosens the grease and the oil and the ground-in dirt and lets it lift up and out of the cloth. Washing soda is your main cleaner. The second is borax. It is another plain mineral. They mine it right out of dry lake beds out west, and it comes in a box on that same aisle for about $4 or $5. Borax is your water softener, and this is where most people go wrong without ever knowing it. Most of this country has what they call hard water, water carrying a load of dissolved minerals in it. And hard water fights your soap. The minerals grab hold of the soap and hold of the dirt and turn the whole thing into a dull scum, so that instead of carrying the dirt away, you are half rubbing it back into the cloth. Borax takes those minerals out of the fight, so the soap can finally do what it is there to do. Without borax, in hard water, you are washing your family's clothes in what amounts to thin gray mud, and you would never know why they never come out quite right. The third thing is a bar of plain soap, grated up. Real soap. A plain bar, and the simpler the better. Folks use a plain Castile bar, or an old-fashioned laundry bar made for just this, or any simple, honest bar with nothing fancy added. A bar runs you $1 or $2. You grate it on a kitchen grater, the same as you would grate a block of cheese for supper. This is your actual soap, the part that takes hold of the grease and lets the water carry it off. One grated bar replaces a whole jug's worth of the soap that is in the store detergent. That is the entire list. Washing soda, borax, and a bar of plain soap. Buy all 3 and you have spent maybe $12 or $13, and you will have most of each box left over for the next batch and the batch after that. So the real cost of one batch works out to somewhere around $6. And one batch, as you are about to see, is a great deal of laundry. Now I have to stop and speak plainly about safety, because I always do, and because it matters with these 2 minerals. Washing soda and borax are both strong. They are alkaline, and they will dry out and irritate your skin if you handle them bare-handed for any length of time. They will sting something fierce if you rub your eye with the powder still on your fingers. So wear a pair of gloves when you mix, and keep your hands away from your face. And here is the important one for those of you with little children or animals underfoot. Borax is not to be eaten. It is a fine mineral for the wash, but it is harmful to swallow, and more so for a child or a pet. So you keep both boxes up high, closed tight, and well out of reach, the very same as you would treat any cleaning supply in the house. Used the right way, gloves on, kept up away from the young ones, and rinsed clean out of the wash, it is safe, and it has been used in homes for well over 100 years. But you treat it with respect. Honest and careful is always better than careless. Here is how my wife makes it, and it is about 20 minutes of real work, and then you simply walk away and let time do the rest. Take your bar of soap and grate it up fine, about 1 cup of grated soap. Put that in a saucepan with a few cups of hot water over low heat, and stir it slow until every last flake has melted and it runs smooth like a thin milk. Do not let it come up to a hard boil. You are not after a foaming mess, you are only after melted soap. That takes maybe 10 minutes of slow, patient stirring. While that soap is melting on the stove, take a 5-gallon bucket and fill it about halfway with the hottest water your tap will draw. When the soap on the stove is all melted down, pour it into the bucket. Then measure in 1 cup of the washing soda and 1 cup of the borax. Stir it slow with a long wooden spoon for a couple of minutes, and you will feel it begin to thicken a little as everything comes together. Then top the bucket off the rest of the way with water. Cold from the tap is just fine for the top off. Give it one more good stir, put the lid on, and leave it overnight. That is the part you cannot rush, no matter how you try. By the next morning, the whole bucket will have set up into a soft, thick gel, something like a loose pudding. That gel is your laundry soap, the whole bucket of it, made for a few dollars. To use it, you give it a stir first because it will separate a bit as it sits, and that is perfectly normal. Then you use somewhere around a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup per load, scooped right into the machine. Less than that if yours is one of the newer high-efficiency front loaders, and I will speak to those in just a minute. One bucket like this will carry you through a great many loads. A big family running the wash every day makes a fresh bucket every couple of months. A smaller household, that bucket goes a long, long way. Now here is the part that separates the folks who come to love this from the folks who try it one time and quit. It is hard water, and it is the one trick most people are never told. Remember I said most of this country has hard water full of minerals, and that those minerals fight the soap and leave a scum behind? The borax helps a great deal with that, but in really hard water, even with the borax in there, a soap-based wash can, over time, leave a faint dullness or a little stiffness in your clothes and your towels, a slow buildup of soap and mineral together in the fibers. This right here is the #1 reason somebody tries homemade wash soap, decides it does not work, and marches right back to the blue jug. Here's the fix, and it costs you almost nothing. White vinegar. Plain white vinegar, the cheap gallon off the bottom shelf. You put about a 1/2 cup of it into the rinse, poured into the fabric softener slot of your machine, or just add it in as the rinse cycle begins. The vinegar is a mild acid, and it cuts right through that mineral and soap scum and rinses it clean away. It leaves your clothes soft and fresh. It is the only fabric softener we have ever used in this house. And no, your clothes do not come out smelling like vinegar. That smell rinses out completely and is long gone by the time they are dry. A 1/2 cup of vinegar in the rinse is the whole difference between this homemade soap is wonderful and this homemade soap does not work. Same exact soap. The vinegar is the secret. So that is the full system. The soap gel in the wash and a splash of white vinegar in the rinse. Cheap, simple, and it does the job. I will tell you a short story on that vinegar because it taught me something. A woman wrote to me last winter, discouraged. She had made the soap just as her mother-in-law told her to, and her towels were coming out stiff as a board, scratchy, and she was ready to throw the whole bucket out and never speak of it again. I wrote her back 4 words. 1/2 cup white vinegar. That was all. She put a splash in the rinse the very next load, and she wrote me again a week later to say her towels came out of the dryer soft as the day she bought them, and she felt a little foolish for how simple the fix had been. It is not foolish. Nobody ever told her, the same as nobody ever told me until an old neighbor set me straight 40 years ago. That one splash of vinegar is the whole hinge the thing swings on. And now you know it too. Now let me be honest with you about what this soap does well and what it does not, because I will not oversell it to you. What it does well is the everyday. Ordinary dirt, sweat, body oils, dust, the regular soil of regular living and honest work. For the everyday wash, and that is the great bulk of what any family puts through a machine, it gets the clothes clean and fresh for pennies a load. And because there is no manufactured dye and no manufactured perfume in it, it is far kinder to sensitive skin. If you have a little one who breaks out in a rash, or somebody in the house whose skin cannot abide the fragrance in the store detergent, this plain soap with nothing added to it is often a real relief. That is a true and honest benefit. What it does not do as well is the tough, set-in stains and the heavy grease. The store detergents have special ingredients built into them, enzymes they call them, made in a laboratory for the purpose of breaking down stubborn stains, blood, grass, deep grease, the messes little ones make. This homemade soap does not carry those, and I am not going to stand here and pretend it does. So for a bad stain, you treat that stain directly before it ever goes in the wash. A dab of the soap rubbed right into it, or a proper stain treatment, or a good soak, and then you wash as usual. For the everyday load, the soap alone is plenty. For the hard stains, you spot treat first. That is just being honest about what the tool can and cannot do. And one more honest word about the new machines. A great many of you have the high-efficiency front loaders now, the ones that use very little water. This soap is naturally low sudsing. It does not foam up the way the store stuff does, and that is actually a good thing, because those machines do not like a lot of suds. But two cautions. First, use less, only a tablespoon or two, since those machines run on so little water. Second, look in your machine's book, because a few makers say to use only their approved detergents and frown on plain soap. If yours is one of those, run an occasional empty hot wash with a cup of vinegar in it now and then to keep any soap from building up inside the machine. Treated that way, it works just fine in most of them. But I would rather tell you to check first than have you void your warranty on my say-so. Now I want to take a moment, because this is the part that truly matters. Think about who profits from that jug of blue water. The detergent companies profit, of course, but look closer at how they do it. They sell you a jug that is mostly water and a little soap at a price that has almost nothing to do with what is actually inside it. The dye costs them next to nothing. The fragrance is the priciest thing in the bottle, and it does no cleaning whatsoever. It is in there only to train your nose. And the real genius of it, from their side of the counter, is that it runs out. Every few weeks you are back at the store, lifting another heavy jug into the cart, paying once again to ship water across the country. A thing you are made to rebuy forever is a far better business than a thing a man makes for himself for $6 a year. And that manufactured smell is the hook that keeps the whole wheel turning. They spent years and fortunes teaching a whole country that clean has one particular smell, so that plain, clean clothes that simply have no dirt and no odor and no perfume either, started to feel the people like they were somehow not clean enough. Your own nose was turned into a salesman working for them, day and night, in your own laundry room. That is not chemistry. That is a habit sold to you and rebought by you every single month of your life. There is no company anywhere that profits from a box of washing soda, a box of borax, a plain bar of soap, and a bucket. Nobody can build an advertising budget around it. Nobody can sell you a fresh one every month because you make it yourself and the boxes last and last. And so you were never told, not because it does not work, for it has worked in homes for over 100 years, but because there is no money in teaching a man to do for $6 what they would far rather sell him for $300 a year. We make our own because we always have, and because a family that can wash its own clothes for pennies with 3 plain things off a low shelf is a family that needs no jug from anyone. That is the whole of it. Clean is not a smell you buy. Clean is just dirt gone. So here's what I want you to do this week. The next time you are at the store, walk right past the wall of laundry jugs and go down to the low shelf. Get a box of washing soda. Not baking soda, washing soda. Get a box of borax. Get a plain bar of soap and get a gallon of plain white vinegar. Under $15 for all of it, and most of it left over for the next time. Grate your bar of soap, melt it down in a few cups of hot water, stir it into a half bucket of hot water, along with a cup of washing soda and a cup of borax, top it off, and leave it overnight. In the morning you will have a bucket of gel that washes your family's clothes for months. Use a scoop a load, a splash of vinegar in the rinse, and spot treat the bad stains before they go in. Wear your gloves when you mix, and keep those boxes up high, away from the little ones. Now tell me down in the comments, do you have hard water where you live? And have you ever tried making your own wash soap before? And if you have a grandmother's recipe, an old way your own family did it, I want to hear it. I read every single one of these, and the old recipes you all share are the reason I keep doing this. Next time, I am going to show you how my wife makes the bar soap itself, the actual soap, from scratch, the old way, with just a few plain things and a little patience, so that even that $2 bar is something you can make with your own 2 hands instead of buying it at all. It is the natural next step after today. Until then, walk right past the blue water, make your own, and remember that the people who built this country with their hands knew things we are only now beginning to remember.